You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Spirit Dimension with your host, Kerry Greenaway, right here on Parasearch Radio.
A good evening and welcome to The Spirit Dimension. My name is Kerry Greenaway, and as always on a Sunday evening we like to bring you something a little different, and tonight is no different. I'm joined in the studio by my lovely co-host, Mrs. Clare Hinks, sorry. Good evening, Claire, how are you?
Good evening, Kerry. I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, we have a very special guest in the studio tonight with us. We've had her on before. She's an intuitive life coach. Absolutely awesome. And I just love this lady. Her name is Lisa Michaels. Good evening, Lisa. How are you?
I'm really well, Kerry. Thank you so much for having me again.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. So what have you been up to since the last time we spoke to you?
What have I been up to? Oh, I've been up to loads actually at the moment. So I've created I've partnered up with my colleague Heather, who you had on, I think, not so long ago.
Yeah.
That we've actually now started to create what we like to call the Hunch Club, which is an online membership empowerment program that people can join. You'll get support, guidance and mentoring for those who want to connect with us. And that will be on a deeper level to tap into their superpower, which is our intuition, and living a much better, fulfilling life. And you can bring anything to you, but when we tap into your superpower, it's literally that. It's making the impossible possible. So we're all the guidance and all the help is in that membership. So I'm very excited to be bringing that to everybody soon, and that's what we've been working on.
Fantastic. That sounds awesome.
Sounds quite exciting. It does. Sounds really interesting.
Very, very excited about this because a lot of people, as you probably know, don't actually use their intuition. They either second guess it, or they just have got no idea of listening to their gut, and they're always listening to maybe somebody else. So, but there's so many ways that you can tap into it, and when you do tap in, you become even better at it, and then your life can change in so many ways, extraordinary ways, which will really help you, will really guide you. It's your inner compass, it's your GPS system, and it's connected to your soul, so it can really, really help you in your life to have absolute direction, focus, and it's a very good thing to tap into.
I feel like that's so important as well, to bring that to people's attention. The Hunch Club, what a brilliant name.
I know.
That's exactly what it's like, isn't it? Like you get a hunch about something and it's tapping into your intuition.
We were going to call it the Gut Club, but we thought, no, gut just sounds a bit, I don't know, guts and stuff, and so we thought, no, there's another word for it, so we thought hunch. And intuitive, people actually don't understand what intuitive means. So we thought, no, we'll use an easy, simple, we're all into making things a lot simpler now. So I think we overcomplicate things too much. So it's about simple daily things that we can give you to help you in your life.
Well, that's always where I've come from, is like layman terming it for people almost, because some of the concepts that we talk about can be quite complicated, and they can be, if you want to fancify the language up, but when you actually get down to the bare bones of it and you start looking at it from a soul level, it's not as complicated as it's made out to be, is it?
No, we as human beings complicate everything, because if it's not complicated, it can't work, can it? You know, we actually think if it's not complicated enough, it's not going to work. How can something so simple work? So we've got that mindset around it. So it's about, you know, stripping everything back and actually going, well, actually, if you do simplify it, it will cut so much time and other things out of your life that you've overcomplicated. Keeping it simple is much, much easier. And why not go down that route when things don't have to be so complicated?
I totally agree with that. And I've always thought that way in regard to crystals. When I'm working with my crystals with people, it's, you know, get it down into manageable terms. How many times have we sat in it's the same concept as you sit in a solicitor's office and you think, oh, what the hell are you talking about? Please talk. Yeah, dumb it down. Not dumb it down, but make it so I understand it.
I know. All this jargon and it's the fancy words and everything like that. I just think, you know, people haven't got... First of all, they don't understand, and it can be very distracting, and you don't have a clue what someone's talking about. And I think it's much, much better to, dumb it down, because at the end of the day, people just want simplicity and to save time on trying to explain something, and, you know, just be straightforward. Just say it how it is, instead of going around the bush or overcomplicating it.
And make it so you can understand those concepts that we talk about in regards to spiritualism and, you know, connecting to your soul purpose, and make it understandable as the changes you can make within your life, which, funny enough, leads us to very nicely into tonight's show. We're doing something very different tonight, and we're going to have people coming on that Lisa can actually do some life coaching with live on air. Which, again, is something completely different for all of us in the studio. It's a brand new thing we're going to try out tonight, so we'll see how this goes. I've no worries about Lisa's ability. We've got to try something new. But it gives you a chance to actually see Lisa in action doing what she does best. And as I say, she's done it with me, and I know she's had time with Clare separately as well. And the effect Lisa has had on both of our lives has been quite profound. So we thought we'd put that option out to other people and see where they're going. Now, I know Clare has got a question. The lady was too worried to come on air, wasn't she? So would you like to ask...
She was a little bit nervous.
She was very nervous. So, Clare, do you want to ask the question for her?
Yeah, so this lady, Terry, she says she has dozens of ideas constantly buzzing around in her head, mostly for ways to earn money or businesses to set up or general ideas. How does she pick the right one or the right ones to go with?
Right, I think it's a case of really sorting out exactly what she's after. And a lot of our ideas that come in, if they're not connected to your heart, then you know that it's not the right thing for you. I think it's a case of really just going out there and finding out what is connected to your heart. You know, if you feel that, this is exactly where I feel I'm comfortable dealing with. But sometimes we get sort of bamboozled. There's so much out there, isn't there? There's so many ways to make money. But if you're going to make money by doing something you're not going to enjoy, then you won't be fulfilled. And I think now we've come into a time where if you're not going to have a fulfilling way of making a living nowadays, it's going to really affect your emotional, your emotions. So it's about connecting yourself to what your heart wants, actually, and really finding out what you're passionate about and where you want to serve people and how you're going to serve them. And if you like helping people, then that can be a number of different things of how you can do that. But obviously, you've got to want to enjoy it, because you don't want it to feel like a job. You want it to feel like it's part of your life.
And she's actually said as well,
grow with it.
She actually said that she feels that she not being able to decide stops her moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We procrastinate, don't we? So it's really about actually finding what's in her way first. And it might be the fact of, it might not be the actual choices. It might be just the fact that she doesn't actually know where her heart is, with what she wants to do. And it's really sitting down with herself literally taking herself out of, out into a quiet place, and then just really trying to connect with your intuitive, guidance that's there for all of us. And, maybe read a few books on what interests you and find out where you can find your niche. If you have to learn something, research it. I think at the end of the day, it's about looking up things and researching stuff. And if you think, actually, some of the things that are involved in this area, it's about being curious. If the more curious you are, the more you'll find out about whether this is for me or not.
And kind of a little bit what you were saying about the hunch club. I'm following that.
Absolutely.
Instinct,
it's following your instincts. It's following your intuitive bit. If you're getting messages, because you can also, there's many people that don't actually know what they want to do in their life, but they want to earn some money, and it's like, you can earn some money and knock yourself out doing it. You don't have to knock yourself out earning money. You can actually, it's like I say, it's about researching things and really looking into every area of that particular business. And if it resonates with you, the majority of it resonates with you, then that's for you. If some of it doesn't, and you're sort of humming and hawing about, I don't think, let's say, for example, it's in a technical area. If you're not great with technically, and you feel a bit sort of, frightened to develop that area, then you're going to be held back, and that's what's going to make you procrastinate. So it's really about finding out where you feel that you can be open to. And again, it's being open to learning as well. That's a mindset. So a lot of it is actually to do with mindset and connecting your heart to where your passion is, and really doing some research. But you really have to dig deep within you to find out what it is that you want to connect yourself to. But I'm a believer that we all get there in the end, because your soul is running the show. And as much as we may not feel that majority of the time, there will be a time that you'll be ready, and something will sort of come into your life to show you where you need to be. And it may be that you might have to go through a few hoops of other areas before you get to that. It's like, I used to work in the corporate world, for example, and I was an account manager for a food company. Now that's completely off where I am now, but I did that to learn about the business side, I guess, and that's what helped me to. And I loved it at the time. I was really enjoying myself, because I liked going around meeting people. And again, if you're a people person, if you like to help people, and you want to, or if you want to care for people, there's so many different areas, isn't there? So again, or if it's something technical, you just really need to do some research as to where you feel you're going to be passionate about, and just add up everything. So sort of make a list. So if you make, say, a list on A and a list on B, what you like about that particular job, really research it, and then put your list on list B. You put what you don't like, and then
pros and cons. Then really,
yeah, and that's a good way of actually bringing your intuitive sort of insights on paper. And literally going through the pros and cons. No, there's more pros than cons. Great, I've got to go for that. And even if you do go for something, it might still not be quite the end result to what you're.
But it'll be a process that leads you down that.
Yes, it will be a process. So it's a start. You've got to be mindful that it's a start.
So where you start, so you might have several ideas, and you go, right, okay, so the general idea is I want to work in, say, a spiritual way. You go, okay, which spiritual way resonates most with me? So I'm going to go away, look at that. Okay, what do I need to make that work? And then you sort of go through that process. So you might not end up working in the way you thought to start with, but that process of researching and learning that way of working will actually give you tools that will help you eventually evolve into the way that you work.
Yeah, it's like when I first came into doing this, I started, like I say, I believe that I started years and years ago to learn how to manage myself, for example, to learn how to organise myself, and how to, again, have a relationship with people, build a relationship with others. And as a life coach, you have to be empathic with others. And then obviously years later, I then discovered that I was an empath, and that actually I can intuitively feel other people's emotions and feelings, and knew exactly where their blocks were. But,
Lisa, can I just ask you, do you mind me asking, how did you realise that you were an empath?
So I used to suffer a lot with pain from like headaches. I had a lot of headaches actually as a kid and actually as a young adult. And I also, my energy would completely deplete, even if I was in a crowded area or if I'd had a busy day at work, or I knew I couldn't spend lots of time. And I always wondered why I couldn't just do a full day's work without feeling knocked out about it. And so that brought me on to really researching. Again, I dug deep. I thought maybe it's my energy levels, maybe it's my iron. So I blamed it all onto that first. That didn't work, so I went down that avenue. And then you sort of go down these different avenues, and then I discovered that I'm feeling all these things. And I started to do some research on the internet, and then realised that I did actually do a test of an empathic test, and realised that I was an empath. And that was about 2 years ago. And when I became more aware, that's when I started to be able to tune in a lot deeper into other people's emotions and intuitively feel what they feel. And I was able to, and I've always been very good at understanding another side of somebody, in other words, being, empathic of somebody, what they're feeling. I've always been able to see both sides of something. And very, very sensitive. I'm a very, very sensitive person to other people's emotions, and didn't realise that at the time it wasn't my emotion, it was actually theirs, and it was coming from them. And then as time went on and I became more aware, I started to feel this within my body. In other words, if I'd get a backache or I'd get, a neck ache, and I knew it wasn't mine eventually. I knew it was somebody else's that I'd been maybe helping or dealing with. It was actually theirs, because as soon as I'd walk away, I would be like, okay,
it's a strange feeling, isn't it? That I find myself on my first, I get that sort of thing when I do a reading for somebody. I will get a pain, whether it be in my neck or my head or wherever, and I just know that's not my pain. I don't know how. I don't know how I know, but like I get a headache
exactly.
the whole day, and all day I'm thinking, no, this headache's definitely not mine. I don't know why I think that.
And it's not an easy thing to deal with, and it's something that you need to really hone in on. And instead of it becoming a burden in your life, you can work with it and actually turn it into
something positive.
That can help others, because you can use it in your business, and that's what I do. I use it in my business now. And look, don't get me wrong, sometimes I can be with, working with somebody, and they may have anxiety, and I feel this horrible anxiety feeling, and it's not nice, no, but then I realise it's not mine, because as soon as I've finished maybe working with them, or I send it back to them, you can actually send it back to that other person, because it's not yours. And as soon as you've sort of let that go, then you can carry on doing sort of your job. But I realised that at a very young age, I'm very sensitive, and but like on and off, throughout sort of, I guess, awakening, coming into the process, it's been part of the journey, all part of the journey.
All part of the journey.
We do love a journey.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take a quick break while I add our next guest in for an online coaching session. So bear with us 1 second, guys, and we'll be right back.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
Welcome back to the Spirit Dimension. We're here with Lisa Michaels, Intuitive Life Coach, and Clare Hinks, my co-host. We've actually got on the line Bianca Eleanor, who has asked to come on to have a little life coaching with Lisa. Good evening, Bianca. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, ladies.
Evening, Bianca.
Yeah, I'm finding it a little bit hard to hear you, so you have to shout at me a bit.
Hi, Bianca.
Oh, bless her, bless her. We always have tech issues with poor old Bianca. So what would you like to ask Lisa, Bianca?
Well, I hope I'm not breaking the rules, but I'd actually like to ask a question. It's not applicable to me personally, but it's something that loads of my friends are going through at the moment. Some of them I've taken on as clients, some of them are just friends. Some of them are yet to be persuaded to have therapy with me. But the issue is people that need to cut cords with negative people. And they can identify this. They're aware that they need to cut these people out of their lives. And they get all geared up to do it, and then they relapse. Do you think this is caused by self-esteem issues, or what stops them from achieving that?
It does. I mean, things can stop you, obviously. They can hold us back, and they may not be ready to let them go. And that's the feeling of familiarity, because they're so used to holding on to that. So it's about...
Do you think it's just the scared of the unknown?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely scared of the unknown, because how will I be if I let go of this? You know, where will I be if I let go of this? You know, it's feeling that insecurity of, like you say, the unknown. And I think, you know, a lot of us think, oh, if I cut the cord, like, where does that leave me, kind of thing. Instead of feeling positive about it, you know, they're feeling like sort of lost without it. So in other words, instead of thinking, okay, if I leave this and cut the cord, what am I going to gain? Not what am I going to lose? What am I going to gain? So it's about, you know, changing your mindset to what is actually holding me back is the fact of, what am I going to gain? And some of us can be afraid of that instead of afraid of what we're going to lose. So we're afraid of what we're going to gain out of it. So you've got sort of a double-edged sword with that one. But it's a case of going to the absolute core of why they're holding on to this, because it's a repeat pattern of something that they're holding on to that is so familiar to them that they're not ready to let go of that. So it's really getting to the core of why they're not leaving this, why they're not letting it go, because they can let it go, anyone can, but you have to be ready. And again, it's the mindset. It's what am I going to gain? Because they're more frightened of what they're going to gain rather than what they're going to lose. So it's finding out what they're frightened of gaining rather than what they're frightened of losing as well. So it's a two-edged sword.
So when they start off on that path and they're doing well, what advice can you give for them to keep that momentum going before they relapse?
So when you say about going on, you mean as in their business, or you mean...
Whatever the relationship is, if they start to, you know, phase that person out, or they stop talking to that person, they're feeling good about it, and then something will happen and they'll just repeat karmic cycle.
Back again, yeah. I think again, it's a case of self-belief. You've got to really have that knowledge that I'm going to be okay without these people in my life. You know, what does it serve me by having them in my life? Because if there's more issues that are not serving you from that person, then again, do a list of how this person has served me. Has it mostly been negative, or has it been positive, or is there a balance there? And it's again, sometimes, you know, we do have negative people in our lives, and we find them very hard to let go. I mean, especially if they're family, you know, you're not going to really let go of anybody and say, right, that's it, I'm on my own. I don't want to, you know, you can't really do that. But it's a case of observing how they are, and knowing that actually a lot of the things that they may be projecting to you is actually their own fears. And it's knowing that it's their fears rather than, you know, that the person that's receiving this, and really understanding that part of that relationship and setting up the boundaries of that. But I think, you know, if they're going to get setbacks, then you haven't really got to the core of why you're not going to let this go. And again, it's about getting to the core of, you know, what it is that they're holding on to. Is it the familiarity of it, or is it something which it's come up in their life, repeat, and they're having to, they feel so comfortable with it, they don't know how they're going to feel without it, how uncomfortable they're going to feel without it. But they're actually going to grow, obviously, without it, because they'll be able to be themselves. Because when you have something that you're holding on to, it sort of like fits into like a puzzle, doesn't it? We sort of have space, we make space for people. And the thing is, when you've made space for somebody else, that then takes a little bit of your personality, a little bit of you, and it mixes with them. And the thing is that, you know, as much as we're all one, we're also separate as well, and we're all unique. We all feel things in a different way. So it's not letting your seniority go into, you know, somewhere else. In other words, if someone else is making decisions for you or whatever, and you're just literally giving yourself away, you're giving up your seniority, you're giving up your power. And that is your power, and that's what a lot of people are doing. They're giving up their power because they're not wanting to take responsibility for themselves. And I think that's what mostly people are frightened of.
Bianca?
Yeah, thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
Yeah.
So do you need me to elaborate any more on that question?
Lisa?
Oh, no. I mean, again, if you want me to elaborate even more on another, you know, there's no other answer other than that person's feeling that they need that other person to be in their life, because, you know, it's something that they feel they can't live without, because they, like I said, they haven't taken their own responsibility.
It's always really hard. Sorry. It's always really hard to let go, though, isn't it? It's one of the hardest things. We always say, "Oh, just let it go, let it go." But it's one of the hardest things is to let it go, particularly when it matters to you so much. So, when it matters to you, you've invested in something. So when you've invested in something, you hate to think that investment was not worth something, which is how it feels when a relationship isn't investing back into you. So it makes that very, very difficult to let it go, because you've put that investment in. But I think where people need to look is actually, it's all well and good you investing in something, but what investment, and we're not talking money investment, we're talking emotional investment, or time investment, or care investment, basics that are coming back to you. If there's no investment back to you, then it's you giving all the time. You need to have something given back to you too, even if it's just that same support, or that same care, or that same level of whatever, shall we say?
I think at the end of the day, if something's not serving you and it's actually making you miserable by holding on to it, then you're actually doing more damage to yourself than that other person.
That's where I was going with that thought, yes.
You can actually you can actually do very small daily sort of things to start to move yourself away from that person by working on your self-love. Not self-love as in love. I'm talking about yourself.
Come on, love. Sort yourself
come on, love. I'm not talking about love.
Yeah, but it's little steps. Even it's little steps, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you want to look at it in an emotional, if you want to look at it in a relationship point of view, stop your Facebook stalking, or your Instagram stalking, or your Twitter stalking. Stop, those sort of things. Just little things. Stop doing those things and start thinking, no, it doesn't matter. It's not worth that. And start actually concentrating and changing your focus onto what is important in your life. And, whether that be your friends, or your, people that matter to you in a different way. And it's hard. No one's saying it isn't. Letting go is one of the hardest things. But it's changing that focus onto something that is working and making you feel good, and pushing yourself forward in a positive way. Go out for that drink with friends, even if you don't feel like it, because you'll have a good laugh with your mates, because they always make you feel good. You know what I mean? Do a project that you've been putting to one side because your time has been invested elsewhere. Shift your focus. Just a small amount sometimes actually makes the biggest difference.
See, a lot of us have become also what I call people pleasers. And you're giving away your power by being a people pleaser. And I'm not saying it's because you don't care, but at the end of the day, if you're constantly pleasing somebody else, you're not actually pleasing yourself. You'll then eventually become resentful of what you've done, and then you end up blaming that other person. But that other person is not to blame. It's for you how you've actually taught them how to treat you. And I know this is hard to hear sometimes, but we teach people how to treat us. So if that's how you're going to be treating yourself, how do you expect that person to treat you any different when you're treating yourself in a bad way, and therefore they can't release themselves from this relationship that they can't, let go of? even though it's probably mostly bad for them, because they're actually treating themselves badly. They don't love themselves enough to let that other person go out of their life so that they can fully step into their own power. And it is really difficult. It is very hard. And again, sometimes just cutting the cord with somebody is very sort of cut and dried. And when you've got that emotional attachment, you just have to sometimes do it gradually over time and focus on, yes, what you're wanting out of your life, not what not what doesn't serve you. Because if you're constantly focused on what's not serving you, then you're going to constantly keep getting the same thing over and over, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not ever going to come out of that loop, of that negative loop that you're in. And you're not going to grow. You're not going to grow and fly, and spread your wings. You're not going to get the opportunity to do that because you keep revisiting the same energy, the same negative things that are going round and round in circles, and you're like a hamster wheel. You're going round and round. You're getting nowhere. So it's how much do you love yourself? And I don't mean as in, oh, I love myself. I mean as in how much do you really feel that you can. And again, it's about where your heart is. Your strength of your heart, because a lot of damage can be done unconsciously, being hurt or disappointed, obviously, by something. And then this sets you up to, unfortunately, it can shut you down for other relationships that you want to bring into your life. And that's probably the most damaging thing, because potentially to find love elsewhere or to find that relationship elsewhere, you have to let go of previous relationships and completely sever it. But there's ways of changing the relationship. You don't have to completely sever it. You can actually dissolve it to a point where it's not got any more power over you. So I think when we say cutting it completely is sometimes a bit drastic, but you can dissolve things so that they don't have as much power over you, but they can maybe still be in your life, but they're not affecting you as much.
Yeah.
I
agree with that.
That's probably a better way of actually doing the cutting of the cord, because it's a bit drastic sometimes for some of us. It's a bit too overwhelming.
Yeah.
So
again, though, we do, if we're listening to our instincts, though, sometimes, we can hear our instincts saying, we know that this person or this situation is not good for us and there's too much negativity. How do I change that? It's not always easy to do that, though, is it? Even if we know really deep down inside about changing it.
Yeah, I think also you just will come to a point. You'll come to a point where you will want to, like I say, you do come to a point where you'll want to break free at some point, because everything is on the move, as we know. Energy is constantly on the move, and you're constantly changing as a person, emotionally, mentally, physically, and energetically. You are constantly changing. So because of that, you will come to a point in your life where you'll then decide, you know what, I need to let go of this, or I need to at least dissolve this so that I can move myself forwards. Because if you don't feel like you're moving yourself forwards and you've got stuck in a loop, then, okay, if you're happy in that loop, fine, that's different. But if you're not really happy in that loop and you're finding it difficult to sever your ties, then it's a case of really looking at, okay, so what if I do sever these ties? Where could I be? And think positively again, what you're going to gain from severing those ties or dissolving that in a way so that it's maybe not so drastic or too overwhelming for you to do. Mm-hmm. But like I say, we're always normally frightened of what could be, what's going to be if I do this. But It's about looking after yourself. It's about the self. It's all about self-love. Mm-hmm. And if you are, like I say, giving your power to somebody else, then you don't love yourself enough. You're serving other people. You're serving other people the whole time, people pleasing, and eventually that will come up in your life as resentment. Eventually, it will.
Well,
actually, that if I've got time, Kerry, to ask another question.
No, go for it. No, go for it, because I've accidentally just cut Bianca off. Sorry, Bianca.
Oh, bless her.
Sorry, Bianca. I do apologise.
Oh, bless her. Well, it kind of what you were saying about intention setting and, listening to our instincts. So, Emmy has given me a question for you. How important is properly planned and organised goal setting versus more spiritual intention setting and going with your instincts? So properly planned and organised goal setting versus the spiritual intention and the going with your instincts.
Okay,
that's a really good question, isn't it?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. So the thing is, we've got this battle that goes on within us because you're constantly battling against your logical mind and what your soul wants. So it's a case of having that balance. And I work in a way that balances my logical mind and will serve me in the physical world and what I'm doing, say, on a business level and on an intuitive level by tapping into what my soul wants. And again, it's again asking, right, is this right for me? Is this the right thing that I need to be, going for? Is this the right pathway for me? But definitely creating the right mindset. It's got to be positive. So whichever way you look at it, it's all about self-belief as well. And you've got to find out really if there's something holding you back from that, from anything, from moving forwards, then it comes from your intuition. It normally comes from an emotional part of you, which is your subconscious, which is actually responsible for 95% of your success in your life. So it's really probably majority spiritual, but a lot of us don't really or aren't really aware of that side of us. But I'll tell you for now that everyone will make, whether it's a business decision, whether it's a relationship decision, whether it's any decision that you've got to make in your life, it's always going to be made with your soul, your subconscious, because it's the feelings and beliefs that you hold in that area which are more prominent, but that are under the surface of what we really use, unless you're intuitively connected. And when you're intuitively connected, then you can have what I call like a balance. You've got this balance. But, to be absolutely focused and organised and all the things that you need, in other words, to plan, yes, you can still plan your way through. And it's a case of just really listening again to your intuition, because that's always going to be your guidance to your greater good. So, we often second guess. We often go, oh, do you know what? I wish I would have taken that turn instead of that one. I keep being told that, but I didn't listen.
So to anyone...
Sort of beat ourselves up about it, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, God, yeah.
So to anyone that would be saying, well, I don't really know how to listen to my intuition, what would you say? Like, how would you suggest sit and listen to your intuition? Well, I don't know how to do that.
No,
I know, but, somebody might not.
Right, so there are some things that you can do to listen to your intuition. What I would suggest is come and join the Hunt Club and you can find out how to tap into your superpower. But no, I mean, there are so many different ways. And again, there's not only just one way of doing it. It's, like I say, it's really about getting to know yourself. You can do it through meditation, where you'll be more in touch with your feelings and emotions towards different things. A lot of the time we walk around on this autopilot sort of state, some of us, and even, being in the physical world, obviously, we're very much what we see, what we touch, what we smell, it's all physical. But our intuition is not. Our intuition is in the non-physical. So you really need to get in touch with that non-physical side of you. And that's really going within and getting to know yourself and building that relationship with yourself first. So there's a lot of work that has to be done for you to tap into your intuition. And because we haven't been taught it, bless you.
Sorry.
We haven't, and because a lot of us don't do it or actually are aware of it, is because we simply haven't been shown or taught. We're not taught it from when we're babies, from when we're a child. But actually, if you were taught this, or maybe it was taught in school or something like that, then you would have a lot more people making decisions which are for their greater good rather than just listening to other people or following something else that they think might be good for them. And then you normally find that they're so off track, far away from where they really need to be, and they're not happy and fulfilled, and they wonder why, later on. Whereas your intuition, your guidance, your inner guidance, your GPS knows exactly where you need to be. And it's about trusting. It's mostly about trusting yourself. It's self-belief. And like I say, there's so many ways you can tune in. One of the most powerful ways I felt in my experience was meditation. Through meditation, I was able to get to know myself and build a better relationship with myself. And therefore, I now trust what my gut tells me. I trust what my hunch tells me from that. I don't second guess it. I don't second guess it. Whereas, yes, probably years ago, I used to probably think, I wish I would have listened to myself. I wish I wouldn't have gone that way instead of this way, or listened to somebody else. And
it's not, it's not always easy, is it? Because even now, I would say I'm so much better now at listening to my gut, listening to my intuition, the voice of my guide, whatever you want to call
absolutely.
it.
It's the voice of your guide, it's your connection.
But there's even days where I don't, and then I think, oh damn it!
True, very true.
You know it, don't you?
Right, ladies, we're going to take. Sorry to break in, but we're going to take another quick break because I want to add another caller in. Because we're actually running out of time already, would you believe? So we're going to take another quick break. Bear with us. We'll be right back after.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
We are definitely here. As back again, I am Kerry Greenaway. We're here with Clare Hinks and Lisa Michaels, Intuitive Life Coach. And we've got in the studio the lovely Kaz Rooney. Good evening, Kaz. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine. You have a question for Lisa. What's your question?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Kaz.
I've been going through some pretty big changes in my personal and professional life. But this has been an ongoing process for about 7 months now. But I seem to have developed this kind of intolerance for people who I feel aren't being honest, and I need a better way to deal with that.
Right. Okay. So you're basically finding it hard to. You're understanding that people are lying to you. Basically, they're not being honest because you sense you're empathic to that.
Yeah.
They're what they're telling you.
Yeah.
Okay. When we are that sensitive to emotions and feelings, whether it be physical or mental or whatever, what we do, and this is us as humans, we make a judgment.
Yeah.
And obviously when we make a judgment on that, we're then judging really a belief of, and it becomes a truth to us. Okay, so anything we judge or label, we believe is a truth in that other person, for example.
Yeah.
But some people aren't aware that we exist, these empathic people that we are, and they don't know any other way to really be. But what we do is we end up feeling maybe uncomfortable from those feelings that we get from that person that's not being honest with us.
Yeah,
and
that's
obviously
true.
Yeah, and it makes us feel very uncomfortable. But actually that's not your feeling, that's their feeling, because they're lying to you, and that's what you're feeling. And that's actually, because they're not feeling completely comfortable with what they're telling you, or their belief is off or whatever of themselves. So that's basically really it. So it's not something to blame or to sort of think, oh, they're lying to me on purpose or anything like that. because no one really does things on purpose.
Okay.
Some people might think they're doing things on purpose, but a majority of the time, unless something's been sort of strategically planned on purpose, like something terrible, then mostly when we're standing with somebody and they are basically lying to themselves, they aren't aware that they're lying and being dishonest to themselves. So you're feeling what they're telling themselves.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Because a lot of us lie to ourselves to make us feel better.
Yeah.
And we'll suppress something, but it doesn't mean that it's not true or it's being dishonest. In fact, it just means that that's their way of handling it. But the feeling you're getting is actually their feeling, not yours.
Okay. That makes sense now.
Does that make sense? All right.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
It shifts the focus, doesn't it? Because when you start recognising it, I had this today with a friend today, she came round, and it's about shifting that focus and seeing it from a different perspective and actually going, is that really how you feel about that, or is that how they're making you feel because of how they feel about the situation? Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's breaking that down.
Yeah, and everything that's projected from somebody else is either someone's fear, it's either coming from a place of fear, or it's just a belief which they have, which is embedded within them. And because it's so embedded in, they don't know whether it's truth or not. To them it is, because it's become their truth. And it's not a truth. So therefore because you're so sensitive to it, your body and your feelings towards this will tell you straight off that person's not being honest. Yeah. But they might feel, I'm being honest, that's what I believe. But actually they're not probably being honest with themselves, which is what most people are. So therefore you're feeling sort of like the remnants of that. That's what you're basically tapping into, that energy that they actually feel, but they can't feel it, because as far as they're concerned, they are being, honest with themselves. But like I said, it's about the ego as well, because the ego is a very false side of ourselves, and it's about using the ego in the correct way, not for too much. Obviously, when I say the ego, you can really break it down. I mean, I believe the ego is like edging God out. So when you're edging God out, you're actually not. You're saying to the universe, you cannot. There's no way I'm going to get the help from you. I don't believe that you're helping me at all. So you're so far away from it.
It's so hard. It's so hard to take the ego out sometimes, and you have situations where you have to do what I class as higher self-thinking, where you take yourself out of the equation and actually look at it from a completely impartial perspective. Yes. And that is very, very difficult when you're emotionally involved in a situation. But it's an incredibly useful technique when you're dealing with life issues. Because if you actually take yourself out of the equation, look at it impartially, it changes your perspective on the situation, and you can look at it in a completely different perspective and see a way forward where when you look at things from an ego, you're looking at things very emotionally and very invested and very, your mind is all in a turmoil. Take yourself out of the equation, look at it from a higher self, un-ego perspective, and it actually clears the way, and you're actually able to give advice to yourself as much as other people in a very non-egotistical way, and it actually helps you see the way forward a lot more clearly, I would say. Claire?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with everything you've said, really. It's hard, isn't it, when you get blinkered. We get blinkered in our lives, don't we? And are stuck in our little bubbles, and then we don't always see the way out. So it's clearing it, isn't it? What we were saying about earlier about decluttering.
Yeah.
Listening to your instincts and your intuition, and
absolutely.
Breaking it down. And I say to people so much, like, break it into manageable chunks, you know, just deal with little bits at a time, deal with one thing at a time. And as soon as you start to make little changes, other little changes just naturally happen, don't they?
Absolutely. Well, that then becomes compounded, those little changes that you're investing you're self-developing. So you're investing a lot of time within yourself. And like I say, I mean, something that I think that has helped me so much in my life, and I would never go back. But doing meditation is just a way of really tuning into your, your intuition, of really tuning into your superpowers. And once you have awareness of that, then comes responsibility. And I think a lot of people don't like having that responsibility because they've never had it. So, the responsibility, and like I was saying before about giving your power away to somebody else, someone else is going to make that decision, and then they'll be responsible for the decision that's been made. And it's all about really taking responsibility, self-belief, and stepping into your power. Because, like I say, if you invest in yourself, then it'll really help you in your life to your greater good, to an empowering, fulfilling life, a much, much more positive way and perspective on your life. Definitely, it completely changes your whole perspective. You become more of an observer rather than a judger, rather than a labeler. Rather than going, well, okay, we've all got opinions on, we don't like that and we don't like this, and that's okay. There is no wrong, there is no right. We've only been told wrong and right because someone told us that was wrong and that was right. But is that the case? Again, you can argue the toss on that as well. But, there's so many things you can really open up. But, there is, it's what's right for one person may not be right for another. So,
and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of us have got these egos where, no, if you're not going to listen to me, you're actually, doing more damage, like I said, to yourself by arguing with somebody else because someone's not listening to you or someone's not appreciating what you're sharing or something. And you're actually doing a lot more damage to your own character, into your own, to yourself, rather than actually just going, you know what, I don't have to argue about this because where does it get you? Sometimes. And some things are doing more damage to you. In fact, the majority of things that you're going to be against are going to be more sort of like a rebound. They're going to come back to you because it's you're fighting against the ego all the time. I'm right in this, I'm right. There is no right, there is no wrong. It's what you've been brought up to believe, again, on certain things. And like I say, of course there is right and wrong in some instances, but it's not judging, isn't it? It's letting somebody have their space and their opinions, and if that's okay with them, that's okay for them. Don't judge it, don't go against it, because then your relationships will just. Sorry.
Can I ask something? If someone has an overwhelming gut feeling about something, they should follow that, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. If you have an overwhelming, definitely. And the thing is, if you don't follow it, you will actually be brought to follow it another time. Like if you don't follow it straight away, then it will come up and bite you.
I agree.
Because it's like I say, listen, this is what I believe. I believe that we all have a pathway, and we're all on a journey, and your journey has already been mapped out. So if you're going in a different direction to that, where that map is, which we all do, we all have done, if you're going in a different direction, you will be brought back to that direction maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later. You will come back, because I've spent a lifetime, I say lifetime, I'm in my 40s, but I was going in the wrong direction, definitely, in my life. But, and then all of a sudden everything sort of came together really, really quickly to me doing this work, which is now resonates completely with my soul. I know exactly, I'm absolutely at peace and fulfilled with what I do. And I've never felt that in my life. So I know I've arrived, I know I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. And when you know you're doing what you're meant to be doing, that's the intuition. That's your GPS guiding you to that.
Yeah, you might go off on a detour, but it'll always bring you back to your soul purpose.
Yeah. But your detour is part of that process. Your
Yeah.
detour is part of that puzzle coming together. So, you know, you might think, oh my God, I've gone so far off. How am I going to get back? You will. You just got to trust the process. And it's all about trust. Trust the process, because there is a bigger plan, a much, much bigger plan. It's much, much bigger than all of us. And it's just trusting in that. Trusting in that
Oh,
higher
it just
power.
sounds so exciting when you say it like that.
It sounds a lot better than, oh my God, I'm so off track, I've no idea where I'm going.
I'm really resonating, because that's exactly where I am right now in my own life, and I just feel like I'm landing, and it's awesome. Yeah.
It is awesome. It's a wonderful, amazing feeling. You
But
feel like
it has taken a really long time to get there. Yeah. And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I finally feel like it's all like going where it should be going.
Yeah.
To completely understand like what you're saying, because when you do start to feel like that, you just know, don't you? It's just like an inner knowing.
Yeah,
right, I know this is right. This is right.
This is all to do with your higher power, our connection to God, our connection to the source, connection to our healing, our inner being, which is who we are. We come from a place of love, and we're here to learn to come back to that place of love. That is our whole process. And how you get through that, whichever way, whichever pathway, whichever journey you're going down, is all part of you coming back to the fact that we all come from love. And once you realise that and tap into that, then your life will change. Your life will become extraordinary. It really will.
So, Kaz, did that answer your question, honey?
Yes, it does.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Spirit Dimension. It's been absolutely brilliant. Before we go, I've got a quick question. What are the best ways to find yourself after you've come out of a bad relationship and you don't know who you are, and how to function outside of that relationship? Are there any particular techniques or practices? That's a question that's come in for you.
Right. Again, I think it's about finding yourself. So, you know, you've been given an opportunity, you've come out of a relationship. Find yourself first before you find somebody else. And a lot of us, we don't give ourselves space. And it's about giving yourself space. And if that means going on a trip, wherever you go or whatever you do, you're still inside your head. So it's about coming outside of your head and coming into your heart and finding out who you are. And like I say, whatever that takes for you to do, if that takes you to go and be with your friends or be with your family or just go off somewhere, being on your own, again, time on your own, which a lot of people don't really like to be on their own, is just such a wonderful way of discovering who you are. Because like I said before, we change as people. We are so many different sides of us, but like I say, we all come from that place of love, and it's coming back to that place of love. And once you discover where you come from, and you start to search for this, what you're seeking is normally seeking you.
Ooh. What you're seeking is actually seeking you. On that note,
I go into a little trance when you talk, Lisa. I just listen to your voice. I get like dreamy and sucked in.
So it's about not losing faith again. It's about not losing the faith. And when you're looking for love, look for love within you first, and then you will heal the parts of you before you can then bring love back into your life. And I think a lot of us don't actually love ourselves. We have parts of ourselves we don't like. We have parts of ourselves we hate. And it's about releasing these sabotaging beliefs about ourselves before, and that's where the work needs to be done. It's about self-healing, healing those parts of us that we dislike, that we just cannot face because we're too frightened to face them. But actually, if you become aware of those parts of you that make up us, you know, we've got, there's dark and light, right? So you've got dark and light. But what comes after darkness is always lightness. What comes after lightness is darkness. It's the polarity of the universe. It's the polarity of us. So we have to have that balance. You have to love it all. If you don't love it all, then you'll have issues. It's about dealing with your issues, warts and all. Love yourself, the dark side of you and the light side of you, because we all have that in us, and it's about balancing those lighter shades of us and those darker shades of us. So do that first, and then you will be okay within yourself to then bring on other people into your life that you can then move on to love again, because you need to learn to love yourself first before you bring anyone else into your life to love.
Well, on that bombshell, everybody, we have actually come to the end of our show, would you believe? Thank you so much for joining us, everybody in the chat room. Thank you for our callers. That was absolutely awesome. Some great questions for Lisa there. Claire, last words.
Well, I don't know what to say. Well, I think Lisa, it's been a pleasure talking to you. You just seem to clarify my brain. I don't know. It's just amazing listening to you. You give amazing advice, and I'll certainly be passing on some of the advice that you've given tonight, because it just makes perfect sense to me. So thanks for your inspiration.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
You know, and we're going to share. We'll share your website, Kerry. You're doing that, aren't you? Sharing the website.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely.
And, I'm on Facebook as well as Lisa Life Intuitive Coach. Do connect with me, and if there's anything you want to ask me, I'll answer messages as well. So I'd be, happy to do that. And, look forward to connecting with people. Let's spread the love around, girls, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
most definitely. I've just shared
move yourself out of the way.
Yeah, I've just shared the website into the chat room. You can also check out our brand new website, parasearchradio.com. Lisa is on that website as well, so you can connect to her through there as well. Or if you're still not sure, message me and I'll send you the link. That's absolutely fine. Now, tomorrow is Monday. I go live on our Parasearch Radio group page on Facebook to give you a rundown of all the week's shows.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, everyone finds that absolutely hysterical. I'm glad you do. Please join me.
No, love it.
It's going to be a little.
You haven't figured it out yet.
Oh, I'm still no, I can't because I haven't got an iPhone. We've worked that bit out. Okay. I've been talking to people trying to sort that out, but through the laptop it's not possible, Claire, I'm afraid. Tomorrow I go live on Facebook giving you the rundown of all the shows of the week. Just a little hint, believe it or not, it is a Titanic sinking this week. Coming up, anniversary of the Titanic sinking. So who knows what shows will come up in connection to that. Oh gosh, we are on Podbean, we are on SoundCloud, we are on, I don't even know the words now. We are on YouTube, we are on Spreaker app, so any of the shows you've missed, you can catch up with any of the shows. They all go to podcast afterwards. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Always fascinating talking to you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You are back on the 20th of May, guys. 20th of May, date for your diary. Lisa will be back in the studio. If you'd like to be part of that show, don't forget, pop me a message. We'll sort that little one out for you. Claire?
Yes.
Always a pleasure, darling.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Next week on The Spirit Dimension, we have the amazing Cheryl McGregor. We are talking how important it is to actually have boundaries within your spiritual working. Too many of us.
Be a good show, Kerry, isn't it?
Oh, fantastic! Too many of us give too much and don't put those boundaries into place. And Cheryl is one of the most amazing people for being able to put those boundaries in place. So we're having her on the show to discuss that with us. And on that note, enjoy your evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And farewell. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.